Hello, and welcome to the 2022 State of Dentistry. This is the first time we're doing this address, and actually succumbed to a lot of pressures from followers and clients to see what the new trends are for dentistry for 2022, to see what has been in the past so that we can expand practices better, to understand patients better, and see where things are going. So without further ado, let's hop on my computer. Okay, and the way I've done that is, first of all, I've done a lot of research, both statistics, surveys, and a lot of other things. Some of them are up to date, some of them the best we could get on certain subjects. And I tried to, I'm gonna keep the original words of the surveys along with some analysis for that. Okay, so here we are. First of all, this is the agenda that we're gonna cover today. We're going to speak a little bit about the dental market, both global and the US market. We're going to speak about the dentist market force, what comprise the dentist market force today. We're going to speak about patients' demographics, which is, again, important for your marketing. We're going to talk about post-COVID-19 data, which a lot of my clients were interested to hear what's going on. We're going to talk about DSOs and about insurance. We're going to speak about patients' oral health and habits, so you know exactly what to target and what's going on. We're going to speak about the patient's state of mind, which ties up to the messaging that you should have on your marketing, about dental marketing as it is being done currently, about patients' expectations, about reputation, changes in reputation and so on, and about new search trends. Okay, but first of all, some of you don't know me, so I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Barak. I'm the owner of Dentometrics, a dental marketing agency. I've been founded that agency in 2009, so it's 13 years now. So I've been around quite a bit. If you wonder about my funny accent, I was born in Jerusalem, Israel. I came to the US about 15 years ago. I'm an American citizen. I'm 51 years old, married, 3 kids, live in Florida, in Tampa Bay area. And a little bit about what I've done. I've published a book called Attract Better Patients. That book became a bestseller. Very successful. The full name is Attract Better Patients: How to Position Yourself as the Go-To Dentist for Higher Value Cases. Again, this is what made me unique. This came out in 2015. After 2 years, it took me to write it. So imagine, this is something I've been doing for quite a while. I've been fortunate to have been invited to speak. This is a Orange County Dental Society that I spoke. That this was presented in the American College of Prosthodontists in front of 1,500 dentists. So I've been chosen to be on the advisory board of the Private Dentist Alliance. When it was founded alongside Dr. Gordon Christensen, I was the marketing consultant, he was the clinical consultant. Articles by me have been published in CNN and in Huffington Post, as you can see here. And I've been fortunate to have some media channels speaking about me and saying some good words about me and my company regarding dentistry. I've recently been chosen to be a top marketing strategist for the year by the International Association of Top Professionals, IAOTP, along with other celebrities. And we have an astronaut from Apollo 15, we have a Miss Universe, we have the saxophone player for Billy Joel, and a lot of other people. I'm fortunate to have been chosen by them. Outside of dentistry, I've been working with Kevin Harrington from Shark Tank. I've been doing some stuff with Magic Johnson and his agent, my hero. Here you go. I was presented with a beautiful jersey by him. And let's start because it's not about me, it's about what that can help you. I feel uncomfortable enough speaking about myself as it is. So with regards to the global dental market, we've seen a big increase, $57 billion from $302 billion to $359.5 Well, a lot of it is because in 2020, a lot of the offices were closed for some of the time. We're going to cover that, but that's not the only factor, and that's important to see. The prediction is, the forecast is that in 2028, the dental market, we're gonna reach $554.5 billion. This is after a CAGR, a compound annual growth rate of 6.4% in the next 7 years. Now, let's see what's going on in the US market. The US market specifically, we see here how there was a moderate increase between 2008, 2018, 2019, and then there was a big drop. Again, very not unusual considering what was going on in dentistry. A lot of offices were closed. Now we see a big increase in 2021, but not to the level it was in 2019. The prediction for 2022 is that it's going to surpass 2019, and we're going to continue with a moderate increase of 5.3% CAGR. These different colors represent different services. Now, the market size, some key factors, aside from the fact that in 2020, a lot of offices were closed. This is not the only thing that was going on. So we've seen, first of all, the growing awareness of dentistry among people. Now that explains also the moderate increase that we see anyway, but that's that was happening in the last year, 2021, according to the Grand View research. Okay, and that's actually from them. It's not my analysis or my thought about that. So those are the key factors. One is the growing awareness of dentistry among people. Second is that the rising prevalence of dental caries and other periodontal disease. 3 is the technological development in dentistry. And 4 is the high demand for cosmetic and laser dentistry. So, 2 things that strike me it's very important to pay attention is actually the first and last part. The growing awareness of dentistry among people. Again, this is something that can be born out of marketing efforts, out of your education, and basically we're going to cover that a little bit more later. And the high demand for cosmetic and laser dentistry, this is again something that can be nurtured with people. You can do a little bit, not a lot, about the technological development as a dentist, as the basically client of those developing agencies. The rising prevalences of dental caries and other periodontal disease, well, we fight that as dentists and me as a marketer on your behalf to increase the awareness and stuff like that, but to educate people how to take care of that. But we see that that increases. There is nothing much you can do about that as a whole. But you can increase awareness with people. You can educate them so that you'll have more demand for cosmetic dentistry. Those things have been happening, and those things have contributed to increasing the marketplace. So the cosmetic dentistry type segment is likely to witness the fastest growing from 2021 to 2028, owing to the rising adoption of teeth appearance improvement procedures such as teeth whitening, crowns, inlays, and onlays and veneers. Again, so out of general dentistry as a whole, the cosmetic part, people wanting to look better, that's what's increased mostly. And that contributed to that was the fastest growth among all the other services. Okay, so that's an important thing to pay attention to. Okay, so now this is another part of that report saying that up to now, North America has the biggest share because of different, because people, basically the bottom line, people have more money there. But we're gonna see that the Asia Pacific gonna increase faster and take more dominance. Not maybe bigger than the North American market yet, but it's gonna have the fastest growth. Okay, let's talk about dentists. Currently, the culmination of 2021, we saw that we have 200,419 dentists in the US. Now this is overall, that includes specialists, but this is the number. Now the dentist to population ratio in the US is about 61 dentists per 100,000 people, per capita, they say. Now those are average numbers and may vary by state. Now, take in account that the variation can be very big. The highest, the most populated state we have is Massachusetts, with about 83 dentists per capita, per 100,000 people. And the lowest one is Alabama, with around 40 dentists for 100,000. So Massachusetts is more than double than Alabama. And you have anywhere in between. Like I'm in Florida, and as far as I remember, it's about 51 dentists for 100,000 people. I don't know, with all the migration of people from other states, how it's going to look in the next few years, but that's how it is, and you can check basically for your state. If you have any question about any one of those statistics, you can write me and I'll supply you some data. I can help you find some data relevant to you a little bit more. But that's what's going on with regards to the population and density of dentists. Out of the majority of dentists, only 34.5% are female. Okay, something that you may see, it's in conventions and stuff like that. That's how it is. It's about 1 out of 3 dentists is a female. With regards to age, this is how the distribution is. This is under 35 years old, we have 17%. Then we have about 10 years between 35 to 44, 45 to 54, 55 to 64. It's about the same. And then we have a 65 and older. This is 16.3%. Okay, that's with regard to the dentist market force. Let's dive into the different services. And there is one note that is very important to note. In 2020, that's kind of like what we have. The dental market, the dental implant segment dominated the market and held a revenue share of over 20%. So again, you have different services that you are providing. Maybe you do offer dental implants, maybe you don't. But just so you know that the dental implants is something that is obviously very remunerative, cost a lot of money, but also it actually grew to take a revenue or 20% of the revenues, which is quite a bit. Now, even if you don't do the implants, as a general practitioner, if you are, and you do the crowns afterwards, believe me, I paid my GP a lot more than the implant facility, which was one of the best in the country. But still, for the crowns and build up and making sure TMJ is fine and stuff like that, I pay top premium. So just keep that in mind. Dental implants, if you get those patients, you can have somebody to do part of it, an oral surgeon or something like that, to do the implant placement, but you can do other things related to that. That's a big thing. Now, dental education. I touched a little bit about that before, but this is, again, part of a survey I saw, and I wanted to, I'm going to highlight a few things here so you can see. The recommendations from dentists have helped driving the demand for various dental services. In addition to the shift in focus on marketing efforts to commercialize the practices, involves free dental camps, online campaigns, and dental education programs. This is what I wanted to stress. So this is something dentists have done to increase demand, basically, for different services. Dentists have recommended few things that caused patients to want things that they didn't want before, they weren't aware before. And that includes online campaign, dental education programs, and stuff like that. This is a very important thing. I've been speaking about that before anyone else. At the beginning of 2010, 2011, this is a very important thing that you can see that the dentist's marketing efforts played a major role in the increasing of the demands and the revenue for the dental market. So whatever you do, keep that in mind. Whatever marketing you do, content marketing and education has to be there with no fail. Okay? So now let's go to a different segment, and I'm going to speak a little bit about the patients. Okay? So the dentist's efforts are one side of the coin. Now let's see how the changes in the patient's side affected things. Okay? So again, this is from the Grandview research. If you want, you can get that research in full. I think in individual plan cost $6,000. You can have some more for that research. But here is something that was on the research. It says, with continuous economic growth and rapid urbanization around the globe, the disposable income of people have witnessed relatively steady growth. In addition, per capita consumption expenditure on healthcare services is likely to significantly increase in the years to come. The rising health and wellness consciousness among millennial population, along with the growth purchasing power, is expected to contribute to market growth over the forecast period. Let me make a little bit some notes for that to summarize that. And I have the next slide. So first of all, people have more money. People earn more money with urbanization and stuff like that, and have more money to spend on things in general. Second thing is people are spending more on healthcare as a general thing, not just dentistry. So people are willing to carve out a little bit more to spend on their healthcare. They realize that they should. And the third thing is people, and especially millennials, are more aware regarding dentistry. They are more aware of things that are available, that are there for them to use to improve their oral health, and aware of certain problems that they were not aware before. Okay, now the survey mentions millennials, and that's an important thing. I want to show you a few things. First of all, millennials. What are millennials? The millennial generations are people born between 1981 to 1996, those 15 years. Okay, so millennials comprise the biggest generation group in the US. This group is bigger than the baby boomers. Okay, another thing, according to Nielsen, making up 26% of US shopping household, millennials are the future frontrunners in generational spending power. So if you don't focus, you don't have to focus, but if you don't target millennials as part of your marketing, you're missing out. Again, I have different clients with different, when I work with someone for marketing, I'll be remiss if I won't create an avatar for what is the ideal patient. So what basically are we targeting, so that the language that we use, the way things look, everything will be devised according to that avatar. And some people want to target families, some people want to target businessmen, some people want to target, a lot of dentists are telling me, look, for implants, I want to target baby boomers. They are in a place, they're losing teeth and stuff like that, they have the money, and so on. Start thinking about targeting millennials. I mean, that's important to know when you figure out your marketing, and millennials are particular, like if different generations have different marketing that you should target. So that's with regard to that. And now to a section that a lot of my clients were asking me about, which is how did COVID-19 affect things? And this is some post-COVID-19 statistics. This is from the ADA statistics, and this is weekly. The last week of the year is here below, and those are just weeks. And you see here the green means that the practices that are open and businesses as usual. The yellow means open but lower patient volume than usual. So those are the people that say, hey, we had an decrease. Our practice basically shrank. We see less patients than what we used to see before COVID-19. Okay, the red, which is now a little bit less significant than it was, the red is closed The orange is open only for emergency and stuff like that. So things have changed, you see that. And currently, let's say roughly around 40% of dental offices report a decrease in their practice. About 60% we're back to normal or better. Now let me get you some things. I mean, this is, as you can see, it says all respondents. Now I have a breakdown for different let's say types of practices, and I did some analysis for you to help you see how things are. So in case of practices that are non-DSO, privately owned practices compared to DSO, privately owned practices did better than DSOs. You know, they're currently recovered better. The percentages that are doing better is greater. With regard to size, practices that have 2 dentists, 3 dentists, up to 9 dentists are doing better than large groups of 10 or more dentists, and those are doing better than the solo dentists. So solo dentists are least successful in recovering from COVID-19. Again, this is the facts. Practices in an urban area doing better than rural. Male-owned practices owned by male dentists are doing better than female-owned practices, and younger dentists are doing better than older ones. Okay, so this is what it is. You know, that's the raw statistics. I'm not here to analyze why, but some people need more help than others. Now, this is another survey that was done. I mean, those are before I showed you some statistics from the ADA. This is from the Oral Health Group. They say that 46% of dentists reported a drop in revenue has the most significant impact on their practice from the pandemic. And another thing, 22% of dentists believe that there are new opportunities. And another thing, 22% of dentists believe that there are new opportunities that have emerged in the midst of the pandemic. Now, I find that very interesting. First of all, if you combine the two sources, between 40 to 46% of dentists are suffering. They have decreased revenue, which is awful. I mean, this is not how it should be. Now, we're going to go over some other changes that have occurred with overhead and other things, but it shouldn't be like that while 60% are doing better. Okay? Now, despite the fact that 60% are doing better, only 22% of dentists believe that there are new opportunities that have emerged in the midst of the pandemic. And I see a lot of opportunities. So that doesn't make sense that only 1 out of 5 or 1 out of 4 dentists see that. Okay? And that means that you should maybe look at it a little bit differently, open your eyes, or use maybe a better marketing agency with you to actually exploit those opportunities. Okay, and I want to give you a quote. Okay, and this is from Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he said, "You can have results or excuses, not both." So the fact that there was a pandemic, it's fine. There was a pandemic, but you should grow despite anything that's happening. You should be more able to adapt to things. Like we saw that younger dentists are doing better than olders, and 2-3 dentists in a practice are doing better than solo. There is something that can be done differently. Okay, and I want to give you 2 examples. First of all, in New Jersey, I have a client there, and while everybody was closed, New Jersey was pretty much closed. There were a lot of quarantines and stuff like that. It wasn't an easy country, like an easy state like Florida, where I'm at. Okay, and a client there at the end of 2020 reported that their number of new patients doubled in 2020 compared to 2019. How is that possible? You know, for a few months there, everybody were closed. Yes, but you could get emergency And since we made sure we had some campaigns on social media and stuff like that, and we got all those emergency patients, while other dentists were twiddling their thumbs and waiting for the storm to pass, basically. Okay, so this is something. This is one example. Okay, so another example, a client of mine from California. This is a bar graph of his revenue in millions of dollars. This is 2019. You see that he had 2.8 million. I'm rounding that a little bit. 2.8. Then we did some branding campaign, and he increased to almost like 3.44 million dollars, 3,440 million as a result of this branding campaign. Now in 2020, he decreased to 3.24. Now it's not a big decrease, not to the level of a year before that. But hey, he was closed, like a lot of dental offices in California. However, he was a lot more profitable than a year before that, because he only was working with himself and an assistant, a dental assistant, and he got a lot more profit from that year. And 2021 was his highest ever year. Okay, so this is a dentist in California. Now, I didn't want to go over that, but I have another client that as soon as the pandemic started, they decided to close, and then they took somebody that was $500 cheaper per month. However, I'm still getting the reports from them, and their revenue, even now, was cut by $100,000 to $200,000 per month. Now, compared to the time I was working with them in, let's say, 2019. So they saved $500 a month to lose $100,000 a month on poor marketing, because they compromised and did, and not really using it correctly. Okay, so I wanted to stress upon you that there are different options. This is like post-COVID-19 successes and not successes. But you see a lot of opportunities, and I'm going to cover a little bit more why those opportunities are very soon here. Okay, some more statistics about COVID-19. So 89% of dentists agree that overhead costs are higher in 2021 than they were in 2019. I'm sure that you agree with that. We have the PPE, we have less patients in the waiting room, cleaning the operatories between them. Obviously, you have a lot more overhead. I'm sure about that. Yeah, and another thing is that nearly third of the dentists agree that the top stressor at the moment is hiring and retaining staff. Now, again, 1 of 3 dentists is saying that there is a problem with staffing. And we've seen that across the board. Problem with fine hygienists, office managers, whatever, And another thing related to that is 60% of dentists are offering higher wages to attract and retain staff. This is something that is not just dentistry, but it's important to see that. I have a colleague of mine that can help you with staffing. If you want, contact me and I'll introduce between you and so on. But this is something that's going on. I'm sure that you've seen that in your practice. Some people are, taking some time off and maybe deciding not to continue or to move out of state or something like that. And then you are short of some stuff. Okay, next thing, it's an interesting point, and that's teledentistry. Okay, so we've seen the rise of teledentistry as soon as pandemic started and offices started to be closed and you couldn't get patients in, or people were too afraid. Now, I can tell you that looking into the statistics, we've seen a lot of reports about the usage of teledentistry in 2020, March, April, and so on, May, and so on. However, the latest I could find of those statistics was August 2020. I didn't find 2021, and I'm going to have my speculation afterwards. But according to 2020, nearly a quarter of the dentists, of dental providers, were using teledentistry. So again, nearly a quarter, 23% of dental providers were seeing patients via telehealth platforms. Okay, and in addition, 11% of providers who were not utilizing telehealth for patient care plan to use it in the near future. In total, if you combine that, assuming that those 11% actually went through and started implementing that, that's still like 34% of the dentists. It's not negligible. However, we stopped seeing those reports about the increase. So I have found something very interesting about that. Maybe, first of all, maybe after practices started to open up again, people damped that and stopped using teledentistry. Maybe the increase was just not continued, so there was nothing to brag about. Maybe. And another thing is 86% of the patients were satisfied with the overall teledentistry experience. And that's a good thing. You know, patients were happy with what they got, mostly. 86% is pretty good. Okay, but let me show you some interesting statistics that I've seen. This is from Delta Dental, and you see the big spike at the beginning of 2020. And they said that the teledentistry appointments went up about 30 times as much. And the appointments, this is appointments with photos. So dentists looking at photos of or videos or something like that of patients went up 10 times. And you see that after the big spike, there was a drop and then a continuous decline. And again, that might be related to the fact that, hey, the practices were open, there was no use of using teledentistry. We see that the level currently is higher, quite a bit higher than the level before. It can be a little bit confusing just because of the spike, that the yardstick of that graph is wacky a little bit, okay? But there is an increase. Now, one thing to notice, and this is just to make sure that we understand, this is not number of dentists that are using teledentistry. This is the claims. This is number of claims to Delta Dental. Okay, so that can be, we have no way to know from that if those are, how many dentists were using that, but we know how many claims. So there may be very active dentists that have been using that. But this is something about that. And let me show you some more statistics so you understand this tool a little bit. Now, this is then compared to now. And then meaning before COVID-19 happened, let's say 2019, compared to 2021. And we see that before 65%, I'm rounding it a little bit, excuse me for brevity, 65% of Americans felt hesitant or doubtful about the quality of telemedicine. Okay, and let me translate it, kind of like do the other way around. Only about 35% were not hesitant. Only 34% were confident about telemedicine. Compared to now, 87.82, almost 89% want to continue using telehealth services for non-urgent consultation after COVID-19 has passed. So again, I'm using the same yardsticks. So it went up from 34% that were confident to about 89% who are confident. That's a big, big change. And let's see another thing. 56.4% of Americans did not believe it was possible to receive the same level of care through telehealth compared to in-person appointments. And again, I have to translate it the other way around. Only 43.6%, about 44% believed it's okay, it's possible to receive the same level of care. Compared to now, that almost 80% of Americans say it is possible to receive quality care through telehealth or telemedicine appointments. So almost double the amount, from 44% or 43% to almost 80% believe it is possible for them to receive the same level of care from the comfort of their home. Okay, so think about that, how this is a big change. Now, however, there is another thing. This is from all the patients. Only 2% of the respondents had used teledentistry. So not a lot of people. And look at that. 63% of the respondents did not know that the dentist had teledentistry as an option. That was not something that was communicated well. And 38% of respondents agreed that teledentistry would improve your access to oral health. Okay? So again, give them the choice. Not everybody will choose it. But give them the choice. It might save you money. It might attract some new patients that maybe you can get them to get a real check in your office, some x-rays and stuff like that, things that you cannot do over the phone, obviously. Okay, so give that option. That's kind of like my advice. You don't have to take it, but we see that patients are quite open for that. Okay, now that's with regard to COVID-19. Let's speak about DSOs in a moment. Okay, so now I want to first of all say that we don't have hard data from the DSOs or the corporate dental offices. They don't owe us anything. They're privately owned. They don't have to publish their data, so we don't have that data. But we can use some gray cells in our brain to basically deduce what's going on. Okay, now this data is 2019, and I'm gonna speak about that. So what we see the trends, and what we know that tough economic times, they tend to accelerate trends as much as we can. So we have all reason to assume that what we see now is even a lot worse than what happened in 2019. So the percentage of dentists that owned practices went down in those 4 years, from 2015 to 2019, from 84.7% to 76.1%. Okay, that's a big decrease in privately owned dental practices. Percentage of solo dentists owners went down from 63.1% to 50.3%. Okay, so again, less solo dentists, less privately owned practices. That's what we see. We have all reason to believe that there are more DSOs. Okay, now this is what's happening. Now, I've seen in my line of work, I've seen dentists that were planning to retire in the next few years, decided to make it shorter with the pandemic and basically sell their practices. And what happened is that DSOs were always willing to, they were there to buy, and they started doing a lot of advertising to buy practices and to have this kind of exit strategy for dentists. So this is a trend that we see. Solo dentists and privately owned practices need help. They are closing out, they've been shrinking. And this is a very important thing for me. I covered before that I'm part of the advisory board on the Practice Dentist Alliance. I was, since its inception until the founder passed away. This is something that is very important for me to push and to make privately owned dental practices succeed more. Okay, this is regarding to DSOs, and we see that trend probably is stronger in terms of shrinkage of privately owned dental offices. The problems with that is, you see, as a dentist in a private practice, your connection with patients can last years. Okay, there is less turnover. I'm not saying now, hey, all DSOs are worse than privately owned practices. I don't say that. There are corporate dental offices that are good. Some are bad. Okay, same thing with private or solo dentists or something like that. However, one thing that is basically breaking up dentistry, making dentistry more like a commercial thing, and commercialize basically the services and getting to levels like how much is a crown and stuff like that, things like that, because that's the article I had on CNN about dental DSOs and stuff like that, and how to fight them. So this is a subject that is very dear to my heart. Take that into account. Insurance. We see that roughly 64% of Americans have dental insurance. Now, 41% of practices surveyed reported on lowered reimbursements, meaning lower collections and profits. So again, insurance companies are paying less. That's kind of like the bottom lines. I think the numbers are actually bigger than that from what I hear. But hey, this is what came up on a survey. And less dentists are choosing insurance. We see that in 2020, less than 7% of practices enrolled in new dental insurance plan. And of those that did, most added only one plan. Now, usually during difficult economic conditions, we see an increase in the number of insurance plans in which practices participate. So we see something that is basically contrary to what happened in the past decades. We see less practices going and using insurance despite tougher economic times, basically. And I think those last two things are related. Well, dental insurance is paying you less, so then there is more reason to basically attract fee-for-service patients and drop those plans, okay? And this is something I've been doing with my clients for a very long time. Now let's talk a little bit about patients' oral health and habits. First of all, those are interesting things, and hear me out. 75% of American adults plan to visit a dentist in a coming year. Think about that. 1 out of 4 doesn't even plan to visit a dentist in the next year. I'm not talking about actual going to the dentist. I'm talking about planning next year. Only 75%, only 3 out of 4 are planning to see a dentist at least once. Okay, now, this is the actual fact. 65% of adults aged 18 and over had a dental visit within the past year. So 65% came at least one time. Okay, we see the 10% that said they would come, didn't even come. 65%, only 3 out of 5, roughly, actually saw a dentist at least once in the past year. Okay, so this is a big gap, and you can ask yourself, what's going on here? Now, let's break it down a little bit further for age groups, and you can see that, 18 to 44, 45 to 64, and 65 and older, you can see that patients between 45 and 64 are most likely to visit a dentist than younger or older a little bit. This is roughly what's going on. Maybe those people don't have as many problems and don't realize or don't think about that. And maybe those think, hey, what the heck? But this is kind of like your more obedient age, not by a big margin though. Okay, so let's see what's going on. Oh, and another thing is that more adults in urban areas are likely to visit a dentist than in rural. So we have 67% in city compared to about 58 in the country that will come and see a dentist at least once a year. Okay, this is regarding that. So, looking at those numbers, you may think, well, maybe patients don't care so much about dentistry, or maybe they don't know enough about that. But let's look at the next slide. So 87% of the people say that poor oral health has a negative impact on life. Okay, that's encouraging. They say, they know that oral health is important. Over 90% of Americans understand it's important to keep your mouth healthy and that seeing a dentist regularly can accomplish this. So on a rational level, on a logical level, people understand oral health is important, and if I'm going to come to the dentist, that will help me. Okay. However, let's see that 50% of American adults correctly answered all 8 questions on a test about oral health. Again, so there was a test, only 8 questions, and only half of the people came up that they understand or they know oral health. Okay? Half of the people don't know enough. So they know it's important, but they don't know enough. Okay, so that's what's going on here. Okay, so now let's see a little bit more statistics so you know who you're dealing with. 3 out of 4 millennials, we spoke about millennials being the biggest generational group, 3 out of 4 millennials only brush their teeth once a day. They might not say that to your hygienist on the cleaning time if they come, but again, 3 out of 4 only brush once a day. That's huge. Okay, this is one thing. 37% of adults aged 18 to 24 admit to skipping 2 days of teeth brushing. Not skipping a day. Skipping 2 days, 37% in those ages, 18 to 24. Okay, think about that. That's a big, big margin. Okay. People over the age of 75 are less diligent about flossing than younger individuals. And this was, older people, but from older adults, 20% of adults only floss when they feel something stuck in their teeth. Again, you might realize that, your hygienist might realize that. A lot of people won't tell you that, okay? They want to say that they floss more than they do. So they might present it as, yes, sometimes, but sometimes I skip. No, this is a big thing. Only when something stuck in their teeth. 20%, 1 out of 5 people of all adults. 16% of adults floss at least once every day. Okay, so only 16%, only 1 out of 6 people floss daily. The biggest reason for people not flossing is that it's too time consuming. So you know what to address. Okay, next, 1 out of 4 adults aged 20 to 44 has untreated dental caries, and 96% of adults over the age of 65 have had cavities. Okay, now 1 in 2 American adults over the age of 30 have gum disease. You might know that. Gum disease is very common. People don't realize that. 70% of adults aged 65 and older have gum disease. Okay, so this is 50% of above 30 and 70% above 65. Number of Americans adult with some sort of gum disease is 65 million people. Okay, so that's with regard to the oral health and habits. Let's talk about the state of mind of patients. So that's important here. So while a quarter, 25% of Americans are extremely satisfied with the health of their mouth, teeth, and gums, only a few, 15%, would rate their current oral health as excellent, leaving most American adults with healthy room for improvement. So look at it this way. Aside from those 15% that say that oral health is excellent, 85% realize that there is room for improvement in their oral health. And 75% don't think that their oral health is, they are not satisfied, extremely satisfied with their oral health. Okay, so this is a big thing. That means that there is the market is ready. The market is ready. You just need to educate them and to make them realize that you are the one to provide it. Next, Americans are thinking about their future smiles, and plenty of adults are worried. Nearly half of the adults, 48% in the United States, are concerned they will not have an attractive smile as they age, according to the survey. Okay, so again, this is something that you can use for your marketing. Okay, another thing, 14% of Americans report missing social events because they're unhappy with their smile. Again, 14% of Americans are not going out to weddings or meetings and stuff like that because they're not happy with their smile. And from low-income adults, 25% report avoiding social activities due to cosmetic concerns about their teeth. So obviously we see that with low income, but again, if you look at the general population, 14%. So this is not just people that cannot afford it. Okay? Okay, now this is another thing that is extremely important for you. Studies have indicated that more than 75% of adults experience dental anxiety. Again, anxiety from the dentist, of which 5 to 10% suffer from dental phobia, which is a much more serious condition than generalized fear. But look, 75% are basically afraid coming to you. Not necessarily to a point that they won't come at all for a few years, like some people, but 75% is a big, big number, and you should address that with your marketing if you have a smart marketing agency working with you. With regards to marketing, which is a different section now, let's see how dentists are building their brand of visibility, and we can see that 77% of them use website as marketing channel. 68% use social media, 48% send out emails, 34% do print ads, 21% advertise online, and 18% send out direct mails. This is how it is, okay? Now, I want to speak about, we spoke about insurance before, but a lot of dental offices are doing an in-house membership. And I read a lot about that, but here is some statistics for you. Patients who have membership plans are likely to visit the dentist 2 to 3 times more frequently than uninsured patients and accept twice the amount of treatment. This helps the patients get the care that they need while also helping dentists grow their practices without having the need to add more patients. If you're not using membership plans, you're missing out on that. So again, they will come to you 2 to 3 times more than others and will accept treatment twice as much. That's huge. Okay, so just keep that in mind. It has other benefits. You have loyalties and other things that have that. If you have any question about that, reach out to me. Okay, so this is with regard to marketing. Let's speak about patients' expectations. And again, this is important when you're crafting your message or when you know what to work on. Okay, so here is what patients are thinking. One of the most prominent dental industry trends for 2021 is digital marketing, and we know that. According to a recent survey, 97% of respondents, of patients, think dentists should be on social media. Are you on social media? Think about that. 97% expect you to be. Furthermore, 35% say that dentists who use social media seem more caring for their patients. I bet that most of the dentists don't think about that. Again, when you are on social media, you seem to be more caring. Now, not necessarily you can have your office post on your behalf and things like that, but you should have your presence. Okay, so that's with that regard. Let's see something else. A survey has shown that 58% of patients want to see video content on dentists' social media profiles. Again, that's important. That's most of the patients want to see videos from you on social media. Now, we spoke before about dental education being one of the factors of growth in the last few years, and videos can do that education. Now, it doesn't have to be a fancy video that you pay $5,000 to produce. You can even do that on your cell phone, but think about that. 58%, almost 60% of patients expect you to put some videos on your social media. Okay. Next, it was found that 57% of patients expect doctors to send appointment reminders, provide reminders and follow up care through automated text, voice, or email. This is important. Again, that's most of the patients expect you to provide all those things, because I know that some dentists are afraid to use it too much, and some for example, I have a reputation system that reminds patients either by text or emails, both, and it's important because you need to have a follow-up. So some dentists are a little bit apprehensive. It's like, I don't want too much. That's okay. If they'll opt out of that specific thing, that's okay. But most of them expect that. Most of them are forgetful anyway or busy to follow through, and they appreciate the reminders. Okay? So just kind of like take that in mind. Now, I spoke a little bit about reputation, just mentioned that. Let's speak about that a little bit more thoroughly, and that's kind of like a very important thing. So review interaction is up by 50% from pre-pandemic levels. And let me read that. Third-party industry research showed that review interaction, which entails actions like searching for or filtering reviews or clicking to expand and read the entire review, all those things, it's up 50% from 2019. So more people are using reviews, wanting to look at the review, interacting with them, and so on. That's a big increase. Okay, so reviews are a lot more important than what it used to be before. And when do patients use online review sites? And that's also a big change. 71% use it as the first step in finding a new provider. 23% used it to validate provider's choice, and 6% to evaluate current provider. So now that's a big change, because before that, you see, in the past, almost nobody had much reviews. People went by word of mouth and stuff like that. Before internet and stuff like that, you had the yellow pages, you had other things, you had people asking their neighbors and stuff like that. You didn't have that. But then reviews started showing up. But now what's happening now is that there is more, the percentage of people that use that as the first step. So people first start their search by looking at reviews, and then they look at the website and look at other things. Before that, they looked at, let's say, even Googling. They looked at who is number one in Google, open it up, look at it, and then look for their reviews. Now they look for their reviews, and after we'll check if you can help them. Okay, that's a big change. This is the gateway to new patients looking for you. Now, another thing that is very important, willingness to go out of network for highly reviewed provider. So this is basically what was asked. The question was, would you consider going to a healthcare professional outside your insurance network if they had better online reviews than the one that was in network? That's basically saying, drop the insurance. Let's say you have better reviews than other providers in your areas. Will you be able to attract fee-for-service patients that may have insurance but don't want to use it? Okay? And 43% said yes. That's huge. I mean, they have insurance. They would rather pick you if you have better reviews. If you work with somebody that can provide you, they can increase the number of reviews you have, you can attract a lot more fee-for-service patients even if they have insurance and you don't provide it. 55% still said no, and 2% slipped up and they didn't have insurance, or they didn't want to answer and other things, no answer and whatever. Okay, so and another factor that was found in that survey is that compared to 2013, the number of patients willing to pay more for out-of-network provider has doubled. So this number, which is close to half, has doubled in the last decade. Okay, only 50% has insurance, and of those, close to half will consider going to out-of-network, basically. So you have a market of about 75% of the people if you work with fee-for-service and you are positioned well, positioned like I teach you to do. Okay. Another part about reputation, since most people first search online review sites, and again, this is not my words, this is from surveys that have been found. So again, since most people first search online review sites to find a new doctor, it is extremely important for doctors to be in touch with what is being said about them and their practice in order to stay relevant. And when they say that this way, this time when you look in Dentist Near Me or something like that, you see the Google reviews first thing. You see the number of reviews, you see the average rating and stuff like that right away. Okay, so it's important for you to know what's going on, And 60% of the surveyed audience felt that it is important that the doctors responded to their online reviews. Now, that's a big thing, because I see almost no dentist responding. And if they do, it's only for bad reviews. You should reply to each and every review, whether good or bad. And you don't have to do that yourself. You can use your staff. Obviously, if you do it and you write your name, and I read those reviews as a potential prospective patient, I'll be impressed that you take the time to answer to those patients. Okay, there is a lot more to that. I don't want to go into too deep, but believe me, I'll educate you when we start working on getting your reviews. But you should answer your reviews. It won't cost you anything. It even is very fast and won't take a lot of your time or your staff's time. Another thing is that the review location matters. 62% of the people will not trust review pages that filter negative reviews. And those are things like Solution Reach or Smile Reminders. 62% will not look at those. Okay? Let me move forward to the last part, which is some changes in search. And I wanted to make that, palatable, not too long. So excuse me for jumping a little bit faster. Search, things have changed. You see, before the internet, there was physical communication. People asked each other, who do you recommend? I just moved in and stuff like that. Who do you use for dentists? Then you had Google, you had SEO, you had some ads and stuff like that. But lately there was a big change. The other methods did not die. People still ask friends. People still Google, and SEO matters a lot, and ads work. However, there is something else that changed, and you see what happened is that people or consumers, they trust, their level of trust is less. They trust less what somebody else told them, an individual. Not because the person has bad intentions, because they know that there are different opinions that can happen. So the level of trust or acceptance at face value went down, and I have some statistics to back it up. And also, people want validations from real people for things. They don't trust what you say on the website. Everybody can say whatever they want on a website. The website can look great, but the service can be not up to par. Okay, so people know that. Okay, and therefore people want real people to validate it, and the more the better, basically, not just one or two. Okay, so I had a blog post about that. This is an example. This is in a town called Middletown in New Jersey, and every town has a social media gathering or place, basically like a community. In this case, this is about 29,000 members. I tried to get like a live thing, but currently this became private, and I'm not a resident of New Jersey, so I cannot see that. But I took screenshots when I could have access. And this is an example. This is a patient saying, please recommend a good dentist in Middletown. Okay? And he had 183 comments and recommendations. So let's say that those people recommended the top 20 dentists in the area. I mean, I looked at the comments and I counted at least 20 people, and I just stopped counting afterwards. So and there are a lot of other posts like that. So when I go and look, I don't have to post a new question. I can just look at those past questions and see who is recommended most. Okay, and then I can have a list of, between, from those 20 dentists, maybe 3 or 5 that I want to look into a little bit farther. And then I check the reviews, and I check the website, and I get the feeling, and maybe I'll call 1 or 2. Okay, maybe just 1. But that's a lot of times how people start searching these days. They may start with Googling, get lost there, not really sure exactly who to choose, and then ask their community. Okay, now let me step off this presentation. I'm going to show you kind of like in real time how that goes. So, and excuse me, I'm looking at the other screen to show you. So this is a small group of in Clearwater. I live in Dunedin, next to Clearwater, Florida. Dunedin is very small, so I'm using Clearwater to search for things. This is a very small group, only 3,000 people. Clearwater is about 100,000 people, or something like that. There are other groups, but I'm in this group, and let me search for for people mentioning a dentist. Okay, so look at some of the questions. Favorite dentist to remove silver fillings. Hey friends, who is the best dentist we are having in this area, and so on. Anyone know of a good dentist? Anyone can recommend a good dentist? Look, 75 comments, 15 comments, 17 comments, 47 comments. I mean, I can go and I can see all those people that have been recommended. It's opening up here, and you see here different dentists being recommended, and so on. So that's how people are. Let me go back to my screen. Basically, this is how people are searching today in a lot of cases. So when you have those recommendations, they are gonna go over and see your reviews and basically narrow down the list to something that they can mention. Now, you've seen before in this screen 183. When they call you, they might just say that they got a recommendation from Joe Smith or Mary or whatever, and this is an existing patient of you, of course, so you count them as a referral. But those are actually coming from search and referral combined. So it's a combination of things. This is why it's sometimes hard to differentiate between the methods that you are getting patients from. You have to have everything in place. You have to have your marketing not just on one channel. Okay, so that's kind of like an important thing to realize. And that's basically it. That's what we have here. Thank you very much for listening. Hopefully you stayed up to the end so that you can use that. And if you need any help, if you need me to have a look in what you currently have and recommend some path of actions, write me. This is my email here, barak@dentometrics.com. You can go to the website and just schedule a time with me or write me an email, and I'd be happy to advise you. Anyway, thank you again, and let me know how I can help you. I wish that 2022 will be a lot better than last year and a lot better than prior to the pandemic. Okay, good luck. Bye.